I am planning on making a Deadpool trilogy video, so subscribe to see that. But I wanted to cash in on the views really quick and say this. Deadpool and Wolverine was really good. I think the action was super cool, and they had very fun and pretty tight story. I think the CGI looked a little rubbery sometimes, but that was only in very small moments, mostly towards the end of the movie. I actually really loved the Easter eggs. I felt like they wanted to show us that they could have done any number of things to easily cash in on this comic book accuracy weird people crowd, but they went out of their way to tell this story. I think they did that pretty well, honestly. It also worked as a great send off to many of the forgotten or failed Marvel movies. Not even just X-Men, but many of the other old bad character movies get cute references here and there. And I think they might even have taken the worst joke in the old Deadpool movies and made it work here, in my opinion. Although they leaned a little bit too hard into this cancel culture woke mob humor in a way that felt like it could be satire, but also didn't have a punchline. At least one that isn't just being a thing that's said to reference the real world. And those jokes just didn't fully land with me. I think this movie served a really important role and carried a lot on its shoulders. It's currently the only thing in theaters holding us off until next year, and I think that as much as Fantastic Four is the thing set up to save the MCU, I honestly could be convinced that Deadpool and Wolverine serves as the movie that might end up actually doing that. Look, I'm not this type of guy. In fact, I think it's really reductive and shows a lack of creativity and intelligence to be this type of guy. But it's not inaccurate to say that Marvel has been in a rough spot recently, particularly in the box office. Marvel movies have been getting called mid in the most underthought out, bad interpretation of the word for years now. Mid means in the middle. It's not a bad movie, but it's not a good movie. Doctor Strange 3 was mid. It was made by a real director, but it was bogged down by interconnectivity with the weird multiverse stuff and a struggling graphics department due to poor management practices. Thor Love and Thunder, in my opinion, wasn't mid. I'll get to this in a future video, but I think it was actually pretty good. It was just pulled down by this overabundance of jokes and lack of unique characterization between all the heroes. But I also think a lot of the jokes worked when they were done at the right time, but between all the well done jokes, there's 20 bad and forced ones. People on X, the Everything app, have been rushing the shit on this movie since Fox was bought by Marvel, because it's a shithole of an app with people with bad opinions who ultimately will never matter or be remembered in 200 years. The movie's good. I think it struggles in a few areas, particularly that last fight in the second act, which had way too much shaky cam. I think it was to make the slow motion look cooler when they used it, but they just didn't use it much, so it ended up just being bad shaky cam. Also, there were surprisingly few actual, team combos for an X-Men movie. The fights were cool and very creative and well choreographed for the most part, but they had two characters who have very recently been shown to have really cool moments when their powers are combined, but we just didn't get much of that. The ending was very good. It had solid emotional beats, although I wasn't very emotionally driven, mainly because I kind of knew certain things were going to happen the way they did. They showed us reason to believe that in the beginning of the movie. Altogether, this is a finale following two movies that felt like different halves of an experiment that culminated into this amazing movie that beats both of them out pretty solidly. Deadpool and Wolverine gets an 8.5 out of 10. That might change when I do the trilogy video. I am writing this immediately after I got home. Alright, goodbye.